Hey guys, it's your boy Kev, and today I'll be showing you how to upgrade your car's audio system to sound very rich, very nice, very expensive for the cheapest price you can find in the market, and I'll be showing you how to do it yourself in your garage at your doorstep with the locally available tools. The total cost of this upgrade actually is less than 10,000 shillings, close to 9,900 shillings, which is less than 10,000, which is a budget build, and considering the quality of the music output, it's definitely one of the best upgrades I've ever done. So we'll be upgrading the music system in the Nissan Sunny. This is a B15, better known as B15 in the Kenyan market. And you can see that it has a Sony head unit, which doesn't quite sound nice, doesn't have a USB port, it's really outdated. But we won't be removing it, we'll just be giving it an upgrade, a facelift, and it will look nice after the video. Here's a quick video on how the car sounds right now, and we already upgraded the speakers in the doors and the back seats, but the tutors are really trash, but it doesn't really sound bad. I don't want the video to be flagged for copyright issues, but you can definitely hear it doesn't sound the best. Here are the things we are going to use to upgrade our music system. We have a Pioneer subwoofer, 1000 watts. We have a 400 watts JVC amplifier, which is a 2-channel amplifier, and we will be going to need a multimeter to test our leads, and a set of screwdrivers, Phillips head and flathead screwdrivers, and wires, of course, which you have in the car. We will be installing this amplifier under the driver's seat, and we already have the wires routed there for ease of installation. You can already see the wires. I'll be showing you what each wire does as we go on with the, but these wires, all of them come from behind the head unit, but because the owner wanted us to include a switch that can be used to turn off the amplifier alone even when the car is running, this is a switch we included to cut off the power from the amplifier so that we can cut off the bass and just listen to the mid-ranges alone. The connector side of this amplifier has a 20 amp fuse and 7 connections, which include the ground connection, which actually connects to the chassis of the car. We have a remote connection which gets its power from the head unit, and this is what turns on the amplifier when you turn on the radio. The radio actually has a remote wire that comes with it that you connect to any extra accessories that it comes with, that you put on it aftermarket. This is a battery plus, which is connected to the 12-volt terminal of the battery, or for ease of installation you can install it to a connection that contains more than 40 amps or 30 amps of power output. Then we have the 20 amp fuse, but in this case we are using a 30 amp fuse because this amplifier actually produces a lot of power, uses a lot of current when it's running at full volume, which the owner actually likes. And these are the connections to the speakers. These are actually 2 channels. We have the left and the right channel, but we'll be using it in bridge mode because we only have 1 subwoofer, and the bridge mode actually produces more power than using all the channels. For the connections, we have the RCA, and this one comes directly from the subwoofer output on the head unit. These 2 are the speaker wires that go all the way to the boot from the amplifier's speaker outputs. This is the 12-volt input wire that brings the 12 volts to the amplifier, and we have a ground connection, and you can see it's grounded to the body of the car, which is just the chassis. You can see that. And you might be wondering, how about the remote connection? So for the remote connection, we will just use a 15 amp fuse between the 12 volt and the remote. That's also another way to switch the radio on, since we have an external switch that doesn't really require the radio to be used. Finally, we have these 2 connections which are actually the speaker wires, and these ones go all the way to the boot, and they connect to the subwoofer output. And in this case we will be using the bridge mode, which is this wire here, and this other one here. And these ones go directly to the subwoofer in the boot.
Turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on.
So I'm done with the power and speaker connection side, so we just have to connect the RCA. And for the RCA goes into this side, and this side we have the input. You can see the input. We have high input, and then we have input. So for high input, this one goes directly from the speaker output of the radio, which you can actually just hook it directly to a speaker output from the door. But since we don't have this connection, it's quite hard to connect, so I'll just connect the RCA. And RCA, since we are using a mono channel, one channel, we will use the mono. We have the L mono and the R, which is left and right, but for more power we need to use the mono. Even if you do it the right, it will work, but under low power, so mono is the best to use on this side. And you can actually see the level. This is the gain, and the gain is just used to adjust the gain of the input so that you can have more bass at lower volumes. But most cases the sound is distorted at higher volumes, so you don't want to use the maximum mono. So for me, I usually leave it at maximum before I connect before I connect the speaker. And this is because I can see at what volume it clips, and then I can readjust for better performance. So for now, we'll just leave it maximum, and we'll see if it clips, or if the sound is distorted at maximum, then we'll reduce accordingly. Here we have a crossover, and this crossover switch, you can see it's LPF, off, HPF. Actually what it means, low pass filter, high pass filter, and off. For low pass filter, you can, if you don't have the direct subwoofer output from your head unit, or if you use high output, you put it to low pass filter. And if you don't want to use a subwoofer, you just want this amplifier to be used as mid-ranges, then you leave it at off, or you can go for high pass filter. High pass filter is where now you get the high frequencies for the mid-ranges and the tutors, but for low pass filters is for low frequencies and the subwoofer. For the main 12-volt power source, we'll have to go for the power from the ignition, and that is under the steering wheel. So we'll have to remove the steering wheel cover, that is the lower steering cover, after which we will use our multimeter to test a series of thick cables that we will find from the ignition to find which one has 12-volt constant. There are 5 bolts that are holding this lower cover up in place, and these include one, and they are all Phillips head screws. So we have, that is the second one, we have the third one, we have that as the fourth one, and this is the fifth. So after removing those bolts, this one will come out, and we'll test the wires underneath that. There's this little lever below the steering wheel that is used for telescopic steering movement, so you'll have to bring it downwards, and you'll have to use your flat head screw driver to remove this trim piece. after which this cover can actually now fall down once you remove all the screws. You have to wiggle it a little bit, and that's how it's done. So the connections for the power from the ignition, you come all the way to this connector here. So we will have to remove that connector and figure out where to get our 12-volt source. This is put there really hard. Yes, so we have our connector. So here is where our multimeter comes to work. And you want to put your multimeter to DC voltage, and that is, we are testing for 12 volts. So 12 volts within the range of 20, and that's what we will be testing. So we have two pins. One pin is black and the other one is red. So the black one, we will put it to where our ground wire is at, and that is right there, and we will hold it there. So with our black one set up, we'll look for a 12 volts constant. Yes, there we go. And what is the color of that? That's white and red. Do we have any other? So we are so lucky on our first attempt, and we find out that the red and white actually has a 12 volts constant with the key out of the car. So we'll have to follow the connector all the way to underneath the steering. So we'll have to remove this piece, which actually comes out easy. You just use your flathead screwdriver again to remove. So you insert it from any point on the top and pull. You go and do the same to the other side. Yes, just like that. Pull it down, and here we go. So we'll just cut a little bit of the covering on this one, which I already did, and there we have it. This is a really poor connection, sorry guys, but you can do better than I do. This is just for illustration purposes. So this wire is actually the 12 volt wire that goes all the way to the amplifier below the seat. But since we have to insert a switch between these connections that can be used to switch off the car when the car is not, so that's where this one comes in. You can actually see that from below there, the wire here is the wire. It comes to our switch, and then from our switch it goes all the way back, all the way through the floor to our amplifier there. And the other, it's not the twisted one, is the ground, and the straight one is actually the one that comes from here. And because we put the switch in between, you can actually switch the subwoofer from here. And the owner wanted us to put a light that can be used to know when the switch is on, so that he doesn't leave the switch on when he switches off the car, like right now. So for that, we included a light that illuminates the bottom of the pedals on both sides, so that he can know when this subwoofer is on, even when the radio is off, whether he's sitting on the passenger side or whether he's sitting on the driver side. And for you also, you can put an additional light. You don't have to put this fancy one. You can put just a small light beside the switch, which I'll be showing you in the next video on how you can do, so that whenever the switch is on, you know, so that you don't leave the amplifier on overnight to drain your battery. So we'll proceed with the connections. Since we already included the lights I'll show you in the next video on how to put them. I'll show you how it works. So here I'll turn the switch on, and we'll have to go and check with the subwoofer to see, does it really turn on. Yeah, and you can actually see that it's lighting. So I'll just go and turn it off from the other side and see what happens. You can return the steering cover, and for a little trick to have it going back, always push it in first, and then up like that, and then make sure you return the Phillips head screws, tighten it in place, and don't forget the lever, just like so, and that is done. So let's see what happens when you turn on the switch. Yes, and whenever that light is illuminated, it means the subwoofer is on. And don't forget the trim piece that you removed from here. Wow, that looks neat. And for the RCA, it was easy on this head unit, because this head unit actually comes with an extra length of wire for the RCA input for the subwoofer. And I can actually show you that in a minute from the level. So going underneath, behind the radio, you find that there's this little, oh my god, this light, I don't know if you can pick it, but there's a little RCA cable that comes out of the radio. Yes, here it is. And for that, just connect the RCA directly to it, just like so. So this one goes all the way behind the radio, and it's easier because this other side is the side that goes to the subwoofer. This side is the side that goes to the amplifier, and it's easier because we already put it in our amplifier down there below the chair. The final step includes putting this subwoofer into the boot of the car, and it's easier because this one was ordered pre-built like this, and you can see that it has two easier connections that go into the wires that came from your amplifier. And this is easier done like this because you can always remove it when you don't have bulk cargo in your boot. So the subwoofer is in the boot, and it's the final connection I have to do. And this one is easier. Just connect these two to these two. I'm done setting up the subwoofer, and I'll be playing music off my phone, though it's copyrighted, but just for a few seconds. And it's hooked up to my music system through the auxiliary cable, since we have no USB or any other connections available except tuner, and we don't have any music playing to the tuner to test this subwoofer output. So let's play music off our phone and see if the subwoofer actually works. It's currently off, and so you can see that it's off, and when I turn it on, you just heard how the subwoofer sounds, and definitely saw how it's pushing out a lot of air. And with the lights on, you can actually know, oh, I left my subwoofer on, so off we go. And here's the Easter egg in this build. So the owner asked me if I could hook up this old tablet that he got in his house laying around with this music to play videos and all other music formats that this head unit that doesn't actually play. And I said okay. So I made these two brackets, that will actually hold the tablet, because this is actually just a phone, and he wanted this phone to look like it came from the factory with this car. Well, for the shortest time that I had to build these low quality brackets, but I can get high quality built brackets with time, and I'll show you that in the upcoming video. So I'm going to mount these brackets here, and you can see this little notch. What it actually does is that it goes into the vent, and once in the vent it goes in there like that and hooks up like that. So once it's hooked up like that, I can put the tablet here. So you'll ask me, how about the switch for the hazard? Well, once you want to use the hazard, just push this one up and you'll have space, and push the switch like that. I'll show you in a minute. So I hooked up the tablet, and you can actually see that I've really changed the outlook on this car, and now the system sounds perfect. It looks nice. You can play videos off of it. I won't play the sound from this one because it will be a copyright issue, but you can actually see how good it looks. And the owner was actually impressed by whatever I did, and this was not close to perfect on what I wanted to do because of the short time I had, but I can do for you a perfect job if you really want me to do it for you. And you can comment below if you want me to do such an upgrade for you.
Kwanga ati amekafunga kijipendekeza kwake. These are strange people, cause after I lose job even though wali lost job kuna ganji akeja kubeneza wa host. That's when I learned when you broke you don't matter the most. Jota ma relative manzo wote wali to ghost. Shida ndo funza binadamu jinsi ya kujikaza. Kitu liko mebaki ni sikurudi mshaka. Excel pensi mpaka leo nikiwaza tusijui tungeko wapi bila maombi ya mother. Maisha ilinichonga.
And for the hazard switch, just push this one up and you push, and you can actually see the hazard switch is working. I didn't have to do a lot of fancy stuff, and you still have the machine working very perfectly, and the radio is also working perfectly, and you can see that from here. And if you don't want the bass, just switch off this, just turn off the switch and listen to the mid-ranges alone.
But would you believe it if I told you that I was happy?
So from how this build came out, I really love it, and I barely spent a lot of cash on this build, and this is something you can do alone at home. And if you feel like you can't do it, I can still do it for you at a cheaper price. The installation cost is not so expensive from my garage, and you can just text me from the link below, and the email, actually my email is in the description below, and I can do the same build for you with the stuff laying around in your garage. Or if you want to go expensive, we can do a very neat, a very good job for you if you want to like go over 50,000 shillings, 100,000 shillings, and people go all the way up to 500,000 or 1,000,000 shillings in just music builds. And we have people who are good in my garage. You can do the same. I can do the same for you. Just leave a comment in the text below. If you want to see more of these builds, like upgrades, DIYs, and lots of other stuff, comment below what the type of DIY you want to see next, and I'll do it for you. Thank you. Subscribe, like, and share the video for more.